all to help counter Ukraine's brutal aggression that's happening because of Russia. The Secretary of State and the Secretary of the military behind me they've been deeply involved in this whole effort. Armored capability, as General Austin will tell you, has been critical.
Sir, are the searches of your homes completed?
Mr. President, when is Jeff Stein starting as your next chief of staff?
We search for Hobit.
Madam Vice President, we have a moment to talk about classified documents. Did you ever take classified documents home as a senator?
I have had the great honor of spending hours and hours and hours, and you've covered my negotiating the debt limit and other things with the leaders of the Republican Party. I think there's going to be a need on everyone's part and a realization it's everyone's interest politically to cooperate in dealing with keeping the economy growing and beginning to address the long-term debts. Really pleased and thankful all these guys showed up to begin the hard business of trying to deal with what's at hand here. We know we have two looming concerns. One is the debt limit. They're not technically connected, but the fact of the matter is practically and politically it's connected. We got to make sure that we also, a much larger looming issue is the long-term debt. And we've got to make some real progress on that. We're all in agreement that we have to deal with both these issues, and we have to make some progress. This is an opening meeting where today had a chance to talk a little bit with each of my colleagues. We're going to lay down not hard negotiating positions, but make sure each of us understand where the other guy's coming from, why we think the plan we put forward, each of us have put forward, makes the most sense. And then we're going to get to work. This is the debt limit. And it was, I don't want to use pejorative terms, it was used as the means by which, unless certain compromises were made, we would default on our debt. There's room within the budget to fund those priorities. But it's going to be, what it ordinarily would be, a normal political battle.
Senator Manchin, he had a meeting with the House Speaker, and reportedly he said after that meeting that he wants the White House to negotiate over cutting spending in exchange for raising the debt limit. Has he conveyed that position to the White House, and does the White House have any response to Senator Manchin about that?
I'll say a couple of things, and I've been asked this question over the last 2 days in different variations. We see this as a separate matter. We see this very differently, and it should be done without conditions. We've been very clear about that. So again, it should be done without conditions. We've been very clear about that, and we'll continue to share that with whoever wants to listen.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how the U.S. settled on the number of tanks it's providing? 31. That's a very specific number.
I kind of got to it a little earlier. It's basically the size of a Ukrainian tank battalion. In America, I'm getting a little bit astray of my knowledge. I was a naval officer, but as I understand it, an American tank battalion has about 50 tanks in it, and it's organized with more companies to comprise a battalion than in Ukraine. It's just the way the Ukrainian army is organized. It's not right or wrong. It's just that their battalions are basically, I believe, 2 companies, so they're just smaller, and so 2 companies, that's about 15 tanks a company, and that's how you get to 30, 31. And then, usually at least one of these tanks is the commander's in there, and so you've got a command and control tank that sort of is in charge of how they're operating on the field. And now I'm really going astray of my expertise. But I think that's about as far as I can go.
So we'll have more details on the State of the Union. I can say this is the State of the Union. This is something that the President takes very seriously.
You said the President would have his physical finished by the end of this month. Is that still on track?
That's still on track. When we have a date to share, we certainly will.